on YouTube. So we're just restarting our YouTube stream here. But be patient with it. Inshallah, we're going to do a Ramadan stream. Last one before Ramadan. Oh.
Oh, it was working.
Well, because he just put it on right now.
Hello?
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to the Mad Mamluks. My name is Sim.
Can you guys hear us?
Oh, yeah, they can hear us now.
All right.
Yeah. We had a false start, restart, classic Mamluk behavior. This is what happens when you go live. You guys have to kind of be patient with us. We don't have the pre-recorded shows that the other shows have. You know, we do it live. We do it live. Sometimes things go wrong, and you just have to be patient.
What's the proper term? Is like a mulligan? Can we get a mulligan?
Mulligan. That's what the gurus say, bro.
Yeah.
You don't want to say that.
What's a mulligan?
Mulligan means like a redo, like a like do it over again, a restart.
Sounds like a haircut or something, or a drink.
It's a quagmire.
It's
a bunch of malarkey.
I love white people, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, so we are live. Okay, audio seems to be working. Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair. Sheikh, welcome to Ramadan.
Alhamdulillah, bro.
How are you feeling?
We made it, bro. We were just saying this in the previous sesh that the older you get, you start to realize the value of Allahumma balighna Ramadan. Allah, let us reach Ramadan. I know I heard about 3 janazas in the past week, brother. You know, it doesn't mean that that those people did anything wrong. It's just they had a different plan with Allah, and Allah planned that we remained, you know. But it's
may Allah raise us all together in Ramadan. Always love and appreciate all the support, all the love that many of you listeners have given us over the years. My du'as are always with you guys. Just can't appreciate you guys enough. I'm so happy to reach another Ramadan with you guys. And inshallah, when we're raised together, hopefully it's not just too close, you know, when we're just not like elbow to elbow, you know. That would be kind of weird, you know. No, I mean, like,
what about heart to heart?
Wait, what type of raising are you talking about?
No, I mean, like, when we're raised together on the last day, I just don't want to be cramped, you know.
Yeah, don't worry. Inshallah,
that'll be the last thing you're gonna be worried about.
The main concern is you're gonna be is Allah. All the du'as I made about me entering into Jannah without any reckoning, just make it happen now, ya Allah.
Wouldn't it be funny though? If said, you're too close, man. You know, Chappelle. You're too close, man.
Somebody says that to you.
You can't say that.
Huh?
Somebody says that to you. You're too close, man.
No, Chappelle. It's like a line from the Chappelle show.
Yeah, but I mean, in all reality, bro, you're gonna be not worried about who's behind you, in front of you. You're gonna be standing there pretty much naked, uncircumcised.
You're not gonna know anything.
Yeah. So the last thing you're worried about who's touching your shoulders. Yeah.
Sim and his mad. That's why it's Mad Mamluk, bro.
Sheikh, you gotta stop that. You gotta. You've been saying that like every episode.
No, but that's why it's kooky. I like the kookiness.
He's reinforcing the point that you're mad.
I am, but
it is corny. It is corny.
We just have to kind of let it go now.
But he is. But Sheikh is kind of corny anyway. It's good to be corny than to be too over the top.
Alhamdulillah, though, bro. But you know, we were talking about prep of Ramadan. Look, if we can start this segment off just something that's so simple that I think is very profound, that I'm just spreading this love everywhere. Allah in the Quran, He says, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. When it comes to the ni'mah of your Lord, propagate it and talk about it and celebrate it, right? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who was known to be the Quran person amongst the Sahaba, he's also one of the keeper of the secrets of Rasulullah. Right in the hadith of Rasulullah, he said to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud that you can lift the curtains and enter into my home, right? What the Arabs used to do, you still see this practice, just keep the doors open and drape curtains over their front door, right? Rasulullah used to love Abdullah ibn Mas'ud in such a way that he used to stop the Sahaba outside of his home and let Abdullah ibn Mas'ud come in. And the Sahaba would be like, man, when can we get that opportunity, right? Every Sahabi has his own. And the qira'at that we have and the go-to people amongst the Sahaba, amongst them is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, right? So, notorious for Quran recitation, notorious for everything that have to do with the Quran, notorious for killing Abu Jahl. He's one of the Sahaba that's always in the background, right? One of the Sahaba who was very undermined. You know, like, he was so small. He was such a small person that when people would sit down, right, he would be at their height when they'd be sitting in a gathering. So when people would stand up, he'd be hidden. And in the expedition of Tabuk, we know the story, right? In the expedition of Tabuk, Rasulullah says, I don't have my miswak. Somebody give me a miswak. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud climbs a tree, the ilk tree, which is a miswak tree basically, and goes to cut off a piece of the miswak. The wind blows, a draft comes, and his lower garment blows up a little bit, and the Sahaba see his legs, and they start laughing at how skinny. They're buddies. How we all laugh at each other, we troll each other. Sahaba are humans too. Yeah. Right? So Rasulullah says, "Ata'ajabuna min saqi sahibikum." Are you guys in awe of the skinniness of the legs of your companion? Yeah. Right? And he says his legs are heavier than the mountain of Uhud. Right? He's only talking about his lower body. He's not even talking about his upper body yet. Right? That same Sahabi is all the Sahaba used to go to him for the Quran and understanding the Quran, and we know that Umar radiallahu anh sent him to Kufa. I mean, a mountain of a Sahabi in its literal meaning. You know what? The Sahaba asked him, how do you prepare for Ramadan? Such a simple and profound answer. He says, and they're expecting tahajjud Quran. You know what he says? He says, I would never dare. And he, out of his humility, he said, we, meaning the generation of the Sahaba, we would never let the month of Ramadan enter with anything in our heart for another Muslim. That's my preparation for Ramadan. Right? Because that, when you have something in your heart for another Muslim, it festers in a way. Not only does it pollute the heart, the vessel that you have to worship Allah, right? But it busies you. And shaitan does waswas. The more people you have in your heart, right? The more the waswas occurs. And the waswas is much more powerful. I was talking to a fellow sheikh, just a sheikh of Ruqya, and he was telling me, he's from California, he's telling me, you know what, Amir, the Ruqya of sihr is easy for me. Ruqya of jinns is easy for me. Ruqya for hasad is easy for me. But Ruqya of the waswas, of the qareen, is the most difficult.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why in Surah An-Nas, this is the last thing I'll say, I've been rambling on.
No, go ahead.
In Surah Al-Falaq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِالْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. He talks about 4 different types of sicknesses and evils from the night and from people blowing on knots and all that. But Surah An-Nas is very different. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Seeking refuge in the Lord of the Nas, right? Malik Nas. He praises himself again, right? The king, the owner of humans. Ilahin Nas, the Lord of Nas. Min sharril waswasil khannas. After praising himself 3 times and showing his power 3 times, he talks about only one thing. Surah Al-Falaq, he talks about 4 different things. In Surah An-Nas, he only talks about the waswas because of its magnanimity, right? And these 2 surahs were revealed were to undo black magic on Rasulullah, and obviously comes with the package deal of hasad and cure for all things. But waswas capitalizes, especially in Ramadan, of people you have in your heart. And shaitan utilizes that because he knows that if you have other people in your heart, that's another way to keep you busy away from the dhikr of Allah. Right? That's why the Sahabi was promised Jannah of his salah wasn't as substantial, his tahajjud wasn't as substantial, his psalm wasn't as substantial as other Sahaba, but what made him outstanding from everybody else, he made sure that he went to sleep without having anything in his heart for another Muslim. And again, it's a simple thing, but it's not easy all the time because there's so many Muslims that did us wrong. But can you imagine if Muslims there was a Muslim that did us completely wrong, but if we forgive that person, even though we're in the right, that could be enough for you to enter into Jannah without any reckoning, right? It's not easy, but Allah says, what do you want more, Jannah without any hisab, or do you want this to fester inside of your heart, right? So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of us. If you guys have anything in your hearts for all of us, I really mean this, please forgive us. And if I've done anything wrong to anybody, please forgive me. And I made this vow to Allah that any Muslim that ever did me anything wrong and is doing anything wrong to me and in the future does, Ya Allah, before anything I forgive them, so forgive them, Ya Allah. And if we ask Allah for anything for our other believing brothers and sisters, the angels do dua for us for Allah to grant us that one thing, right?
You know what I was thinking about? Like, subhanAllah, like the wisdom and also, you know, to go to Jannah without hisab. What's the thing that can prevent you is that when, you know, if we demand rights from each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can be, Allah can pardon you and forgive you, but if there's some right of somebody else, some haqq of somebody else, that can prevent you from entering paradise. Right? So the idea is to rectify all of that rather than on the day when you don't know what's going to happen. Like what?
But Mort, you said something, prevent. What does that mean, prevent? That's going to prevent you. You're right. But what does that actually mean? How is it preventing you? What's going to happen?
Do you have to satisfy the right of the other person, or he has to demand his right, or you have to.
And where does that happen?
In front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That happens in the court of Allah, bro.
Yeah.
Where those people, they're gonna, if they have to put their mother and father on trial, they will.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're gonna be such in a state of shock and awe at that moment. All you're thinking about, nafsi.
That's it.
You're not gonna care about anything. You're gonna have no compassion for anyone in that moment because it's gonna be of a dire moment to you. I need to get there.
But imagine all the grief. In Surah Al-Qaf, and Allah refers to this scene. The reason why it's so scary is you're going to be arguing in front of Allah. You know how we bicker amongst each other when there's a court case? You imagine that disrespect that occurs. Allah is saying that look how bad this scenario is. It's going to be so powerful that you'll be bickering in front of Allah until Allah has to tell you to stop. That itself is scary, bro. We don't want to have to deal with any of that. Settle it now in this world. Don't deal with it in the court of Allah, bro.
I was just thinking that imagine even ayat were revealed in front about arguing, excessive talking in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
Now imagine you have to do that in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. So it's probably better to hash that out here.
Yeah, bro. No matter how difficult it is, so difficult. Yeah. Trust me, bro. Everyone has been done wrong, and some people have blatantly been right in the right. But the fact that you can forgive that person, because Allah knows how much pain you've been through, the fact that you can let go of that and just say, Allah, I forgive that person.
But you know, I was thinking about this too, because I was talking to some of the Rawafid earlier, right?
Like, here we go.
No, but I was thinking,
you forgive the Rawafid now?
No.
Is that acceptable, Sheikh?
No, I'm not. I
we need to
that's not what he's saying. Go what you're saying, bro.
No, something's terribly wrong here if he does.
No. What I was saying,
went to Michigan.
No, what I was saying was that, what I'm saying is regarding the Rawafid, is that they were talking about all these events that happen, they bring the shubha. And I was thinking, they say that we are, that they are people of Shi'at al-Ali and Ahl al-Bayt. And I say we are people of Ahl al-Qadr. Meaning that if you think about Allah's Qadr, that Allah gives you freedom of thought. I don't say freedom of choice. A freedom of will, right? You have freedom of thought. Like, you can say, I'm going to do something. I intend to do this. This is what I want to do. But the divine decree has already ordained for what's going to happen. Yeah. Right? But that divine decree, you have to be content with it in order to be a Muslim. Yeah. Or, you can be a Muslim, but if you struggle with that, then I believe it's directly correlated with your level of Iman you have. The more you struggle with the Qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the lower your Iman is. The less you struggle with it, the higher your Iman is.
And the more happier you are.
Yeah. This is This is that sakina that you get when hey, listen. And someone was saying, I was listening to his clip, and even, subhanAllah, Bilal was talking to Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan made the observation. He says, I noticed something about Khabib and these guys. And he's like, they have this deep spiritual, tie, and it kind of makes everything is good. And Bilal says, you know what? Yeah, that's tawakkul. We know that whatever we do, at the end of the day, it's already written. I can want something and I can need it, but Allah already knows what's going to happen. So if it's good for us, we ask Allah to allow it to happen. It's going to make us better. If it's going to make us worse, then we allow Allah to prevent us from something, whatever it is, right? But that firm, imagine what that takes. It's not easy to accept the qadr of Allah. Like if you lose a family member, or maybe you lose someone that you're in love with, or whatever it may be. These things you keep thinking, oh, I just need a little more. I just need to do this, or I could do this, or I could do that. How many times when people die, oh, if he hadn't done this, he would have survived. People don't realize, but unconsciously, that's a rejection, subconsciously, of qadr. Because you're trying to say that you could have changed something that would have happened. Allah, no one dies.
To clean and safe.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
You want to just go to the topic, or
no? I'm so sorry.
I figured you're getting impatient, so you just wanted to play it.
Morty, I'm not.
No, I'm saying I'm just trying to be.
Hey, it's Ramadan, bro. It's Ramadan season. Be easy on him.
No, that's why I'm being compassionate. I'm trying to say, hey, maybe he wants to go to a different topic.
Oh, Morty, you're such a nice friend.
You know what I do in the background? I cue up clips and stuff.
No, that's why I'm saying, do you want to go to the topic?
Because no, I wasn't trying to interrupt you.
I'm just making sure that.
Wow, Mort actually became a sweetheart for 5 seconds.
I'm just saying.
This is weird. Mort, go back to your normal self now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Ramadan. The shayateen
You
are
don't know
tied
him
up.
very well. This is a slight dig at me.
No, I would never take a dig at you.
You would never dig at me.
He's saying that now because Ramadan. He forgot about the past.
I would never
Ramadan makes us do that.
A dig at your beautiful face ever.
Mashallah,
anyways, but my point being though is that to be able to accept that qadr and not let it weigh on your heart, that's something huge. Most people, and I say this is one of those things that is unique to Islam. that we know that no matter what happens, either it's going to be something that we are is a punishment that we're paying for. That Allah, is
expiating sins.
We'd
Yes.
rather have no punishment in this world than the next.
Yeah.
Or Allah is taking away some sins from us here, or He's preventing of some harm from us.
Yeah.
Right? These are and to me, I always say this, like, I love that hadith about assuming good of your Lord.
Yeah.
Because if you
Always.
your Lord is as you assume of Him.
Yeah.
Like, and that means it doesn't mean Allah becomes bad and good. It means that if you focus on the negative, you're gonna see only negative.
Yeah.
If you focus on the positive and the blessings, you're only gonna see those things.
Yeah. But look at the mindset. Look, أنا عند ظني عبدي بي. The hadith Qudsi is, I am what my slave thinks I am.
Yeah.
Or makes me out to be. Right? But the reason why this obviously it's a hadith. There's so much wisdom in this, and it's from Allah, because the hadith Qudsi. Every bad and hardship that you go through, and you're talking about qadr, right? If you attribute good to it, you're a person of Jannah. If you attribute benefit to it, you're a person of Jannah. But guess what happens to a person who attributes only bad and negativity? In the beginning, there's a few stages to this. The first is that they think that Allah is out to get them. Or they think that they did something wrong. Right away, I did something wrong, I did something wrong, I did something wrong, right? What ends up happening is that they stop doing the actions that they're supposed to be doing because they think they're full of sins, right? Mm-hmm. They think, I've done so much wrong anyway, I might as well continue, and then that leads them to kufr. And that's why there's so much wisdom in the hadith. The middle stage, yes, you're going to think that you're doing something pious, but not doing something religious because you think you don't deserve to do it, or you don't deserve to ask Allah for forgiveness. That's what that actually leads to, right? The other thing you talk about qadr is, look, a lot of people, I'm glad you brought this up, a lot of people think that if they're not okay with their qadr, that they're also in sin. It's like they feel like they're double sinning. They're like, oh my God, this happened to me, but why am I sad about this? I shouldn't be sad. No, look, it's okay to be sad about what qadr has happened to you, right?
Alhamdulillah.
But look at the hadith of Rasulullah. He says, as far as talking about iman and all the tenets of iman, qadri khayrihi wa murrihi, right? Qadr of its khayr, of all the blessings and beauty that it brings and all the goodness that it brings, and the sourness and the bitterness of it. Meaning that when you go through some of your qadr, it's going to be bitter, and you can understand that it's bitter. If you feel that it's bitter, it doesn't mean that you're doing another sin. It just means you have to have patience. And Allah has a plan for you, right? Allah. Another thing is that Allah can be preparing you for something else, right? Allah put Rasulullah through so much hardship, not because he had sins, not because he did anything wrong. Is Allah's preparing him for not only having tawakkul only on Allah, dependence only on Allah, but the road ahead is still very bumpy, right? Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
So, there's a quick question for you. Sorry, someone asked in the YouTube section, what is the meaning behind the devils being locked away, Sheikh?
The meaning behind the devils being locked away comes from the hadith of Rasulullah, where he says in Ramadan, the gates of Jahannam are closed, the gates of Jannah are open, and the shayateen are locked up. What that means is the shayateen are in chains, which means is that the heads of shayateen, Iblis, the heads of the tribes of all of the shayateen, and then the shayateen that have power, but the shaitan, which is the qareen that's with you, that does your waswas, is still present, but the waswas is weakened because the heads are locked up. That's what that means. It doesn't mean your qareen is gone too. The qareen never leaves you.
So the minor shayateen are still
The
around.
minions are around.
Yeah, the minions.
The minions are
but
around.
you can
The weak
control those
ones.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little Sims are around. We can just take care of them. No,
That's kind of messed up.
I'm just kidding. No. No, but Sim, what do we have left on our? We had a lot of stuff we want to talk about. So let's push through the agenda.
Right. Let's talk about it.
That's my Muzzy Buzz line. Let's talk about it. I like that. I like that.
There we go.
Okay, so sorry, we're just pulling up some. So for the TikTok audience, with the YouTube audience sees it, but we can be showing something on the screen here. So, here we go. Yeah, this is crazy.
Let's talk about this first.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't see this yet.
So let me give some background. This guy his name is Bobby. Bobby's Perspective. So he started off in the manosphere, like about, being vegan is dumb and it's, all this stuff, right? And like, being men and he big into fitness and working out. but he's also very kind of.
Is he like red pill or no?
Not completely. Like I think he's a mix between the two.
Manosphere.
Like
Let's
he's
call it
not.
manosphere.
Yeah, the manosphere.
Male improvement.
Male improvement.
Yeah.
Help. Fitness. Enhancement. Right.
Longevity.
But
Embracing
he's
it.
Spirit, vitality. Yeah.
Embracing it.
But he's also was spiritual in terms of as a person. I believe he was an Orthodox Christian before. And Orthodoxy has a lot of. I think he's also from an ethnic background. I'm not sure exactly where, but something from Europe, right? But anyways, so he begins this deep dive into Islam, and over a period of a couple of years almost. So he's just reacting to videos and looking into it, and it almost felt like that he was a Muslim. But he made a video, I think, months ago saying, I'm not a Muslim. I'm just looking into it. I need to be absolutely sure about what I'm getting into. So he went about it the route where he's going to analyze everything. Like that's just his personality, that before I make any kind of jump, I need to look at all the arguments, the polemical arguments, all these things, like even look into the Quran. So he, on his YouTube channel, you can go back and watch the videos, Bobby's Perspectives. He's basically chronicling his journey to Islam. Like, I mean, unconsciously, he doesn't know he's doing it, but he's saying, reviewing this, what about beating women and Muhammad's marriage to Aisha radiallahu anha, and all these things. He's just watching videos and responses and looking at these things. And the culmination of all of that is that Allah opens his heart to Islam. And so he takes his shahada. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he was one of those prominent figures on YouTube where a lot of guys look up to and or at least have interested in what he's saying. And so he ends up through a deep dive analysis, looking through all the negativity, all the polemical arguments, looking into the Quran, studying it with an open mind, with an intention to find God, not just to rebuke or to argue. He never really debated anybody in his channel. But all of that led to Allah opening his heart to Islam, so he becomes a Muslim.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm just, while you're talking, I was scrolling through his videos, and it looks like for the past 6 months, 90% of all of his videos look like they're all about Islam and just different reactions to different tenets of Islam, Muslims. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he's got a pretty large following as well. It looks like,
Is he the guy that used to do the reactions to recitation and all that kind of stuff too?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't do that. But if you look at the content before that sin, it was all like veganism is gay, so it's really the whole different thing, right? With a whole different take on it, right? So it's
Bobby's
interesting.
Perspective is his channel.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Bobby's World. Remember Bobby's World?
I remember Bobby's World.
Bobby's World was the cutest show.
Yeah, it was
with Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
Was that the comedian? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic show.
Good days.
Good times. Good times.
So real quickly before you transition to something else, someone has a question for you in the text. Sheikh, would you advise the average Muslim during Ramadan to focus on leaving the haram rather than trying to do too much extra quote unquote good?
That's a great question. There's actually a principle. The questioner actually, mashallah, asked a very wise question. That's actually going to be the theme of some of my talks on Ramadan at the masjid that I'm going to be doing some khataras at. Is, man, I'm not trying to be too long-winded, man, but there's a few understandings that this person is touching upon. One is tazkiyat an-nafs, purification of the soul. Purification of the soul is originally the understanding taken from the Quran and the Hadith of eliminating ailments first and then taking upon good actions, meaning that you do your basic fard al-ain, but you get rid of the ailments and the haram first, right? So we have a principle, a maxim in the Sharia, an axiom, if you will, which is dar'ul mafasid awla min jalb al-masalih. Eliminating or defending against or getting rid of harm supersedes taking upon good. So if you have a choice to do something good or to get rid of something haram, You would have to get the same way is that you would get rid of a danger of somebody entering into your home than going and doing something good first. The same thing with as far as halal and haram. Your goal is to push away haram first, as Muhammad ﷺ was eliminating shirk first, and then the ibadat came, right? So the same thing is that if somebody has lots of haram in their life, right? Imagine that you have imagine that if you have, for instance, a vessel, it's a beautiful vessel, but it's dirty, and you're putting clean water in it. Even though there's clean water in it, you're not going to want to drink from it, but you're going to want to clean it first, especially if there's even like watermarks we don't like. We like to clean that up because it just looks displeasing, right? The same thing is with the heart and the soul that Allah, the nafs that Allah created us with, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to purify ourselves while simultaneously doing the basic, which is the fard, right? That's much more important. It doesn't mean that, don't let shaitan again do waswas. You know what? You're not supposed to be praying Salat al-Fajr here, especially in Jama'ah. Look at this haram that you do. That's not that. We do our basic fard al-ain, which is the responsibility of every Muslim to know their basic fard al-ain, but also eliminate those ailments that are within us, right? And just the four that I'll talk about is 4 major ailments that every Muslim should adhere to, which hold you down the most and cause barriers between you and Allah. Number 1 is overeating. Overeating is what Muhammad ﷺ said, the worst vessel that Bani Adam can overfill is his stomach. And if he wants to eat extra once in a while, leave 1/3 for water, 1/3 for food, 1/3 for air. The other is not controlling the tongue. The tongue is actually, as Umar radiallahu anh said, it'll either carve your way to Jannah or carve your way to Jahannam. The third is bad companionship. Companions are the people that change your akhirah. So choose your companions wisely. And the fourth is not lowering the gaze, right? Not lowering the gaze like G-A-Y-S, like G-A-Z-E.
Sheikh's got jokes today.
It's not a joke, bro. It's reality. But lowering the gaze, meaning that the infatuation that occurs from the opposite gender and the pull that Allah had gave us, that gravitational pull, which is so powerful, is that if you're not able to control your gaze, then you're not going to be able to guard your private parts. That's the reality of it. But if you control your gaze, you can control your private parts, right? And the private parts are one of the biggest fitna that the human being has, right? Is that if you're not able to lower your gaze, you're not going to be able to guard that infatuation that overtakes the heart. Rather, the person, that's why we see all these people in poetry, they talk about their love instead of doing dhikr to Allah. And there's a reality to that. It's a manifestation of that their heart is full with the love, filled with this artificial partially love of this person rather than the true love of Allah. You know what I'm saying? So get rid of those ailments, inshallah, all of us together.
No writing poetry to your wives?
No, if your wife is different, that's the act of worship, bro. But just don't forget Allah,
Jazakallah khair. Anyways, so you want to move through, because I think the Shaykh at the time, we have to catch Taraweeh, so we want to kind of move through some of the topics.
I got to leave in like 4 or 5 minutes, bro. Sorry.
What was that, Shaykh?
I got to leave in like 4 or 5 minutes.
Like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I got to leave.
Like 10 minutes.
No, 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to leave at 8:30 on the dot. I got to get there a little early. No, I have to be there earlier than that.
Why?
He has to do some he's also
too, bro.
Don't prevent the Shaykh from the masjid.
It's not like you're leading the Tarawih, yeah, Shaykh.
It's not, yeah. But anyways, we're probably...
Yeah, so can we get through some of the stuff?
Yeah.
And I'll just walk out. You guys don't have to worry about me, bro.
Yeah, of course you'll just walk out.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's not very...
Stop making... He told you beforehand, bro. You started late.
Sim just likes to bust my chops. That's how he doesn't like to say I love you. What he does, he busts my chops. Right, Sim? Tell him.
Bust the chops.
All right, so you want to talk about this lady?
Yeah, this is quite interesting. Let's play this. I want the Sheikh to get a quick response on this portion right here. 39 or
220, something like that?
229 or 2.
Can you just double check the...
Yeah, just play it. You got to unmute it before you play it, by the way.
Unfortunately, the Muslim community still lacks a lot of resources when it comes to what to do next. Okay. So you should absolutely consult a lawyer, right? Especially if you feel like this is going to be
let's just set it up.
Okay, so this is a quick video about women who want to get divorced and what they should do from an Islamic perspective. It's a quote-unquote Islamic perspective. So they have a life coach, I'm not sure who this person is, maybe she's a wonderful person, but another life coach who is giving advices are 2 women who are going through divorce. So this is a segment from that longer.
And she herself is speaking from experience because she went through divorce.
Yeah, so it's from the show called Let the Quran Speak.
Yeah, that's Shabir
Ali's
Ali.
daughter.
Yeah, daughter. Yeah.
Of course it is. Okay.
A divorce that's going to be riddled with confrontation and financial back and forth. But if it's amicable, and it often is, then a family mediator might be a better way to go.
So someone would search online for a lawyer and a family mediator?
Yeah, I think almost everything is done online now. Right?
So Sadia, what about if somebody is not financially independent? How would they navigate a divorce? And what sort of considerations would they have?
Yeah, so I think I'm always surprised that women don't realize how much of their husband's money they're entitled to. If you've been home for a number of years and your husband's been the one out working, which is a lot of the women I talk to, that income does not belong completely to him. And that's not, and Islam doesn't teach us that, and Canadian culture doesn't teach us that either. You've been home and you've been providing a service. Although it looks like it's for free, it's not for free. You've given up your time, your energy, your career in many cases to watch the children, to cook, to clean, and you're doing that in exchange for someone financially supporting you. But you've also given up something in exchange, and there's an opportunity cost involved there. So the income that your husband earns or the businesses he's involved in, you have access to some of that, not all of it. And that wouldn't be fair or right either. You have to do what's ethical. But you have access to some of it. And you have access to it moving forward, not just for a small moment in time, because those are his children just as much as they're yours.
So how do you access those resources?
So Sheikh, real quickly, a lot of it is kind of crazy here because so let's just rewind for a second. I want you to answer this. When a woman is divorcing a husband, there's two different scenarios. Either the man is issuing a divorce or she's taking a khuda, right? And those change in terms of what
maintenance
and
fiqh, yeah.
But let's take the argument that the man issued granted talaq, irrevocable divorce, or let's say the beginning divorce, right?
If it's all three, if it's irrevocable, then that's one scenario.
But
if it's one or two, it's another scenario.
But let's just take the one or two in the beginning. The maintenance is required there in that point because the iddah is there, right? However, let's take the irrevocable divorce, because here it seems like they're getting to the point where they're separating and it's irrevocable. Does a man need to provide any money for a woman after there's an irrevocable divorce?
So, unless if she's pregnant.
So, let's say she's not pregnant, and let's just say in regards to a woman herself. Forget about the family now for a moment. I want to know, because the claim was that you have an entitlement to this money, not just temporarily, but prolonged entitlement.
Which is very
to
false.
Right. So I want to talk about that for a moment. Is a woman, not the children at this case, is the woman entitled to any money of the husband's money after the irrevocable, the third talaq has been given, and even during the iddah of that, the third talaq?
Look, wherever we go in fiqh, there's always going to be differences of opinion, right? I can't remember, to be honest, on the top of my head, but generally, yes, the woman is, after it's an irrevocable talaq, there is no maintenance after that, with the exception that she's pregnant, right? And I apologize, I didn't prepare for this before, and I'm sorry, but inshallah in another episode we can go in great detail. And that's true, that's there in fiqh, and that's understood from the Quran and Hadith, right? But one thing that we have to understand is when this lady is talking on a Muslim platform, right? And she's giving Islamic advice and she's giving just common advice to everybody, right? And she's giving partially legal advice. One thing you have to understand is, dude, that even in the Sharia, we're very, very careful about who owns something and who doesn't, because that changes everything in the Sharia. Right? Let me give you a small example, right? I said 5 minutes, but that's already up. But here we go. So look, do you know that even maintenance, that even talaq, everything has in the Sharia, in chapters of fiqh, which is an extrapolation of the Quran and the Hadith, everything has a linguistic meaning and a contextual meaning, right? According to, for instance, Imam Abu Hanifa, let's say even for zakat, right? Zakat is something that you take out from your own wealth to give to people, which is 2.5%. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, the way his contextual definition, because it's going to affect rest of the rulings, right? His contextual definition is haqqul, right? The haqqul muhtaj, the person who is deserving of zakat, right? Which means, according to Imam Shafi'i, if a person is deserving of zakat and he knows how much money you have, and he knows your, let's say, debit card or credit card passwords and everything, if he goes and he takes 2.5% of your wealth, right?
Yeah.
His sin is not for stealing because it's his wealth. His sin and his punishment is for breaching your privacy because he's not allowed to do that without permission. But he's not going to be charged for stealing because it's his right. Rights are the reason I'm talking about is rights are extremely important. When we say that it's your right and it's your wealth, no, that's completely wrong, because if you were to say that, that changes everything else down the line. The domino effect is going to be different now of what the end result is going to be, which is the pleasure of Allah, right? So what she's saying is not true. It's the husband's wealth, but he has to give you what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him to give, or Rasulullah clarified in the hadith. It's not like, oh, it's my money, so I can, because in the Sharia, if it's actually your money, then you can technically go and take it from him and wouldn't be stealing, which is not allowed.
Yeah.
That would be considered thievery. But in the scenario of zakat, it's not considered stealing, according to Imam Shafi'i's definition of rights. So when we say that it's your right and it's yours, we have to be very careful about that, right? The second thing is there's something that she mentioned that I actually forgot.
I can
about.
rewind it.
Yeah, can you rewind it real quick?
Yeah.
Was it the ongoing? You have entitled to that share?
That entitled thing too, that's bogus.
Okay.
That's not true.
Okay.
And that wouldn't be fair or right either. You have to do what's ethical. But you have access to some of it. And you have access to it moving forward, not just for a small moment
Before
in
that, I'm
time.
sorry.
Because those
before that.
are
There was
his
just one point.
change
Maybe
for
it's
someone
something.
financially supporting you. But you've also given up something in exchange.
This part right
and
here.
there's an opportunity cost involved there. So
Stop right there. You've
The-
given up something
the-
as opportunity cost. She's putting a price. It's a very capitalist way of thinking. She's putting a price on all the khidmah you did for your husband and your family. Dude, doing the khidmah for your husband and your children is an act of worship. She just made it something monetary. Oh, like an exchange. It tells us the understanding of these people's mindset of their relationship is, I'm only doing something that's benefit for me in it.
Yeah.
No, you're only doing it because it pleases Allah, dude.
Yeah.
She's making it as if the money that you're asking for is for what the work you did inside of the house, which is completely un-Islamic, bro.
He's saying basically that had it not been me being a wife and a mother to our kids, I would have been in med school and come out very rich.
So the problem I had with this, by the way, is like this. So let's say you're a wife and you couldn't have kids. Does that mean you demand less money? Like, how does that work? I mean, because if you're monetizing a life, right, and saying, and then if it's purely about
opportunity cost
causing and
That's
saying,
exactly
okay,
the wording,
I've given this up, right?
Yeah.
Well, what? I mean, the husband could have, I gave up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's not how we're supposed to look at it.
It's not, man.
Right? The idea is that he's doing that because Allah commands him to spend on you.
He has to.
And you're doing it because this is an act of ibadah by pleasing your husband, by being in this and taking that role, right? So this is so while I don't know the sister, I don't know her background.
Yeah. No, maybe look, we're talking about the idea here. We're not talking about
I don't know
her.
about her specifically.
Maybe she meant to say something else. But there are people that think like this, which is why we're talking.
This is why exactly. So I don't know about her. I don't know who the sister Sadia Khan is. I have no interaction with her. I don't know, but I'm saying that mentality of saying two dangerous things I noticed. Number one, that this money you're entitled to. Yeah. Right? This and the reason why I find this to be a problem is because a lot of people put this thing out there that, oh, my money is my money and his money is my money. And it doesn't work that way. You're only entitled to what is required for the basic or standard of living that you're used to. Yeah. Right? Meaning what's required of that you're allowed to take from your husband. But beyond that, like for example, if you just want to just buy random jewelry and you take the money, right? And without telling him, this is not allowed. Yeah. It's not your basic requirement, right? It's not something you normally do. So these kind of things, you have to get away with this mentality that it's all your money. It's not. If he allows you certain money, if you stipulate certain things in contract, that's a different thing. Yeah. Some people say, I'll give you this much money a month, whatever, no problem. Yeah. That's your money to keep in your account. He separates from you, no problem. But this idea of prolonged, and the dangerous thing is that in a very nice way, you said, hey, it's not, forget about the iddah, forget about the maintenance even just for the children. It can go on and on and on. And the other thing about the children I want to mention is that when it comes to children, yes, The father is obligated. It is the right of the children to take what is necessary for their living and their comfort and their sustenance, right? But that is not the wealth of the mother. That is the wealth of the children. So, for example, a father can buy a house for children and allow the ex to live in the home, but it's not her house.
Exactly. And the other thing that you said, Mort, is very, very important. Let's just go to another example, which some people may be, may Allah give them more rizq and barakah in the rizq. Some husbands may say to their wives, you know what, you could spend whatever you want and anything you want. Take these cards. It's open game. MashaAllah. That's awesome. But that's while they were married. And he gave her permission to do so. And they have a common understanding. Mm-hmm. Once they're not married anymore, those rules change. You can't think that you have that same mindset when you're married. Everything changes when divorce happens, right? Even in Islamic realm. So we have to be careful of that. Yeah. Brothers and sisters, my two compatriots, my bosom buddies,
I'll see you at going, inshallah. We're going to try to wrap up here in 15 minutes.
All right, bro. Over there. Inshallah, man. Jazakallah khairan, man. I'll see you guys. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmat.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, Sim, let's try to get through some of the other content.
Yeah.
The next 15 minutes, now that the Sheikh is gone, we can party.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, by the way, the reason why we talked about this in YouTube as well, too, is because these are things that, the issue here is that you are not entitled to this. And this idea of saying, I'm going to go and claim money that's not yours, because even in the scenario for children, the money is not yours, it's the children's money, it's not your money. When you divorce your husband, especially, and we didn't get into the case of khula, in khula you don't even have, even if you're foregoing your mahar when you take a khula, meaning that even the amount of dowry paid to you, if there's any outstanding amount, you're forsaking that because you're seeking the annulment. You are the one doing that, so the requirement is different. So these things are very technical, and unfortunately we can't mix a Western system when it suits us and then just use the Islamic system when it benefits us. It has to be always under the Islamic system because there's wisdom behind it, and so and there's a certain wisdom, and I think in this case it's almost incentivizing divorce. You're monetizing divorce and saying, oh, if you did this you could end up with this much money. Go ahead, we're ready.
All right.
TV of Eleanor Williams buying a hammer in Tesco would be used in court to prosecute her. Police say it's what she used to injure herself in an effort to support lies that she'd been raped and battered by multiple men. Now Miss Williams has been sentenced to 8.5 years in jail for perverting the course of justice.
There is no explanation for why the defendant would commit these offences. She has gone to extraordinary lengths to create false accusations, including causing herself significant injury.
Outside court, men she'd falsely accused spoke of the impact of her crimes.
I've had my landlord call me a rapist, I've had people across the road call me a rapist, I've had neighbours call me a rapist, just mud sticks, like, everyone looks at you, everyone knows who you are, you know what I mean, like, because I was named in the paper for such a serious sexual offence, what I didn't do.
The way we were targeted as a community, and then we were, as in being the community of Barrow, then we were like picked out. It's a persecution. It's a sense of persecution that took place in the 21st century, and it was just, we're going for the Asians, and it was a full-on targeted towards the Asians.
Eleanor Williams' claims about an alleged Asian...
So the background here is that there was a girl in the UK who had alleged that she was a victim of grooming, and she mentioned many Muslim men in this indictment. And it turns out, an investigation, that the entire event was just made up. This person, this woman, and by the way, I'm not bringing this up just for gender stuff. This is just about how the Muslim community is treated very differently. There's a narrative we hear all the time that, oh, there's grooming gangs. There's grooming gangs. They are, they're grooming British women, and the Muslim men are, just taking advantage. They see women as whatever, right?
Well, white nationalists also say it too.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. These are the ones that are saying it, that Muslim men see women as victims or prey, and they want to get onto them. And so here, clearly, what we see is that there was a woman that had basically purchased a hammer from a Tesco's, which is a grocery store over there, or whatever, a multi a big box store, and essentially self-inflicted harm on herself.
Yeah.
And then claimed that she was beaten and raped by Muslim men and other men as well. And it turns out that luckily they had surveillance footage and they just matched the DNA, and it's completely false. So what we're saying here is that this the reason why she was able to go this far was because the media ran amok with this. They didn't even choose to investigate. Before these people were even brought to trial, they had convicted them in the media. So they were kicked out of their communities. They were called rapists, and people were blaming Islam and Muslims and the Pakistani community in general, saying this is an Asian thing, this is what they do, and this is what Muslim men do in the community. And for months this went on. And now this breaks, and she's sentenced to 8 years in jail or 9 years, whatever it was. But yet we don't see any retraction or apology from the same media outlets that spent months demonizing the Muslim community over this issue. So
yeah, what else is there left to say? But that many of these things are just now being used against Muslims.
So, brother, this happened in the UK, by the way, for people asking. This was in the UK.
Tesco is a British version of Walgreens, or kind of drugstore type. And it's kind of like a grocery store too.
Yeah,
it's a hybrid.
It's like a
multi-purpose
like a big
store.
box, like a Walmart maybe.
Yeah, it's a little bit smaller though.
Yeah, but point being is that we oftentimes hear these narratives from Islamophobes that Muslims are grooming our women. They're trying to forcefully convert women, and they're trying to do this to them, and they're spiritually abusing them, or whatever it may be. And what we now know is that this is not always the case. I'm sure there are people who do it, and they are. They're not practicing, number one, but it's a crime. I mean, if they're doing it, it's wrong. But the notion that somehow this is something part of Muslim culture, or the culture of men from a particular background, is just not true. Right? There is and I believe a part of her reason for being able to do this and feel confident was that I think to a certain degree she knew that the media would run with it. Yeah. Because there's always already the stigma there, already the tropes that are going around that, this is common for the community, right? It's common among Muslim men. So who's going to question her?
Yeah, exactly.
That was the whole point. Yeah.
Not that, I don't think it's completely non-existent, though. I think there are some kinds of gangs of Muslims in very, some ghettos, impoverished areas where Muslims are not the good guys. I hate to say it. There are some bad Muslims out there who are involved with organized crime and human trafficking and all kinds of depraved acts that are completely contrary to Islam. But the majority of Muslims are not involved with that, and that's what the white nationalists are trying to utilize. They're trying to use these scare tactics to pass legislation to limit immigration, to prevent Muslims from entering the country.
And so that was my thing. It wasn't so much that there's not bad Muslims, but the fact that they attribute this with Islam.
Exactly.
That's my problem, right? It was pinned on a religion and not individuals from a particular background or at least a gang or from an area. It was generalized to Muslims themselves. And so now that's why I feel like this woman was able to, because she named a lot of Muslim co-defendants, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was the reason behind that. The comfort level was because they had already slandered the Muslim community in the media.
Yeah.
It was easy to do it. Who was going to doubt that?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our next clip is...
Oh, yeah, this is crazy. This is wild.
Stop telling trans people that we're inspirational.
Stop telling kids to go on your Patreon and chat to you privately without their parents knowing.
So that we could talk to each other in a way that's more open and stuff that we wouldn't share like in the comments of a video like this. Hi kids! Hey kids! I want to talk to the kid. I made a Patreon so that we could talk about it.
And this is Jeffrey Marsh's Patreon. You talk about this topic with kids. Now here are just some of the signs of grooming. Literally one of the first ones. Gaining access and isolating the victim. Asking them privately to go on Patreon. Stop telling kids to go on your Patreon and chat to you privately. Those of you who are threatening other content creators because you are...
So I just got an email saying, pretty much a threat, saying they know where I live. And what scares me the most is they have got my daughter's details on the email, like what time I leave to drop them to school, pick them up. As some of you might know that my car was damaged in this whole thing.
A lot of people made stitches of me saying I'm transphobic, I've done a lot of bad stuff, they've even attacked my scarf, my religion, a lot of bad stuff.
This creator is speaking to children.
It's okay to say so. Hi, beautiful. If you do not have a family that loves you, I'm going to be your family. I am so glad you're here. I'm Jeffrey, and I am not a danger to children. I am a danger to parents, though. I'm a danger to any parent who selfishly and egotistically insists that a child not be themselves.
Wow. So
to give some
terrifying.
context here, there was a Muslim content creator. She just makes funny skits, right? But she did a stitch of this on TikTok where there's obviously a guy named Jeffrey Marshall. Jeffrey Marshall, whatever. Weird transformer dude. Okay, totally weird. Like you can just tell by his tone and how he does things. And basically he's he's put himself up as like this advocate for trans kids or people who want to be, kids who want to be trans or confused about identity. And based on the content you've seen, he wants to privately chat with them. He wants to invite them to the Patreon and have conversation and be their quote unquote family, right? And what the sister does is goes through and mocks this idea, and then when targeted by the trans community, saying she's being transphobic, she responds saying, no, I'm just looking after children. And she mentions, oddly enough, the conditions or points in which grooming takes place. And she mentions like isolating from people, barraging them with love, being, keeping their secrets, saying you're going to love them. All these things they use, these typical ways of trying to manipulate people. Not just children, but people in general. And so she calls them out on this. Oddly enough, this is actually true grooming tactics, by the way, not like what the media will say. This is real grooming. But instead of the trans community or people in general who are, really worried about children, instead they chose to target her and to issue death threats and to vandalize her car and to email her with information about her children, which is, on their schedules of when they go to school and when they come back from school. Deeply disturbing stuff. Had a Muslim done something like this, it would be instantly labeled as terrorism. Absolutely. And instantly blamed on Islam. I want to know, where are these trans advocates? Are they going to now condemn this person or at least is that person going to come out and say, hey, I condemn that these people are attacking her and releasing information? Are they going to somehow deal with this the same way that they would deal with if it was Muslims?
No. Of course, they're going to take sides with Marsh, but I want to know where the Muslims are in the UK. Where are they standing beside her? Why aren't they guarding her house? Why aren't they standing outside? They're very vocal online, some of these brothers. I'm not saying everyone. Obviously, I love my Muslim brothers in the UK. But, man, some of these brothers, the way they talk online, as if they're like the vanguards of Islam, they need to show up. These are the situations where you stand guard all night outside of the sister's house. This is how we were raised. If anything like this happened in Chicago, I know our crew would have been out there.
I mean, we used to go to the masjid at like 2 a.m. in the morning, like just to make sure that someone could, wasn't gonna do something, or a sister would be in trouble. We would just stand guard.
Right after 9/11,
Yeah.
we went to Bridgeview, where all these white trash were circling the mosque. They're waving their flags. And
do you remember when it's even at college, we'd escort the sisters in and out of school because they were worried about people pulling their hijab off or just making some comments to them, so we wanted them to feel safe. Point being is, brothers in the UK, this is a sister who legitimately feels terrified. You can see this on her face. I'm not sure if she has a husband or whatever. I think she does, but sometimes this can be overburdening for one person to deal with. The community has to come out and stand by her. Who cares what the trans or the freaks are going to say, or even the liberals, or who cares about them? At this moment, nothing overrides safety. Someone literally threatened this woman's children. They're your children, right? You have to make sure that they think twice before they do that, right? I'm sure, maybe I don't have all the details. I'm assuming that there were some brothers that reached out and provided some type of assistance, or maybe offered to do so. I hope. I have confidence in that. And this sister, by the way, feels like she, based on what I've seen from her, she doesn't seem to be very confrontational. She wanted to pull the videos down and not really cause a stir. So maybe she's also trying to, calm the situation down as well too. However, I think it's something that we should take serious, right? That
the Khalif Mutasim Billah in the year 800 something, he sent an army to the Romans. To the Roman Empire, because a woman who was being abused by them, and she asked, she cried, "Oh Mutasim," and somebody heard her cry and relayed it to the Khalif, and he sent an army.
That was as long as from the capital to where it was the place in Rome where it was going, and the point being that this is what we talk about when we say shuja'a, like bravery, and fatuwa, like chivalry, right? That men, we are qawam for a reason. If you find especially women and children that are in a dire need, especially when they're your community, you have to act on that. You cannot allow people to, especially when these sisters, they don the hijab, which is a lot easier for them than for us. We can kind of blend in, right? I mean, for the most part, right? Yeah. But these sisters dress appropriately. They wear the hijab. They live, and they're a visual representation of Islam. And they're going to be harassed at times. They have to know that when this happens, the community comes out and has their back 1,000%. It's not easy to do it, especially in a non-Muslim country where you're always usually the first line of defense because they see you as a Muslim. You're the most visible Muslim they can see. So they're naturally going to react on that. So,
and this is a sister who's inviting to khair. She's not she's not said irresponsible things that are putting herself and her children at risk. This is common sense stuff that she's talking about. Things that conservative Christians, people all over the world are behind her about, and a small segment of a protected class,
freak class,
are protecting her or are threatening her and her children, and have already destroyed her property, her car. So, brothers and sisters in the UK, if there's any sisters who have husbands, you send him out to the sister's defense, see if they need anything, offer your assistance in any way. Make sure that she feels secure. Make sure that she has the strength and the confidence to go back on TikTok and keep inviting people to good and khair.
So they suspended me on TikTok now because we mentioned this. So, oh well, I don't care. Oh well.
Why? Because we talked about Jeffrey Marsh?
Yeah.
What did they say? You were just live. What's the message?
It just said you were suspended for hateful behavior.
Wow.
Yeah, TikTok is very...
Well, I hope you guys get banned anyway, TikTok. Yeah. You're going to get... Your days are numbered. I'm so glad that the United States government, in all likelihood, it looks like that the TikTok platform is going to be... I know there's this much good that comes from TikTok. I know my children, I know I look at their TikTok accounts that they follow. I know they follow good Islamic content, but... and some of the stuff they're following, just some of their cartoons and stuff, or whatever they watch,
Well, unappealing. So let's see what happens. Usually they overturn it. Well, they have an algorithm too, so it just hears certain things and boom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that's happening in the I know the UK has already banned TikTok, at least in their government, from government devices.
I know the U.S. has. The U.S. has banned it from government devices because it is Chinese. Actually, what's really interesting is that China has a whole different algorithm of what they present to Chinese people versus what they present to Americans. Like China, they present it's like an educational app. I learn how to do things. In America, it's about booty shaking and twerking.
China has a 3-hour policy on gaming. You know that?
You can only game for 3 hours at a time?
For minors, for anyone under 18.
Wow.
You can all week.
All week?
Yeah.
So you get like 10 minutes a day.
Yeah, and I think there's like some exceptions for holidays and stuff, but
how do they regulate that?
They have facial recognition software
in the house
on all their devices. On if you're logging on the PlayStation Network or something like that, you have to register with your real name.
Biometrics. Oh wow.
And when you sign in, you're only allowed to be signed in for X amount of time. The only way you can play a video game, I guess, is if you're
your dad's
completely
face.
Disconnected.
Bring your dad's face.
Yeah, I guess if you're not connected to the internet, then you can probably get around it. But most of these software pieces, at least the way it works in China, is that there's this company called Tencent, and Tencent is an app that is holding a whole bunch of other apps. So it's like your one-stop shop for WhatsApp. You can download and Facebook. It's like Steam. You can it has all the apps within this app.
Like the gaming hub, or app hub.
So you can have games in there. You can have your Facebook. You can have your dating apps. Everything's embedded within Tencent's app. Even your antivirus is embedded within that.
Wow,
it's insane.
Talk about control.
Yeah, it's one of the top companies in the world. So these guys completely are within the umbrella of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and they regulate everything that is happening and monitor all activities that are happening within China. So, but anyway, that's aside from the point. But the Chinese government has identified social media and understands that gaming in specific has real consequences towards the next generation of a Chinese population. And I kind of hope that the Western, at least in the United States, and for our children over here in the West, that our governments put limitations on this for minors as well. Because
a lot of single mothers are going to go broke because they make money on TikTok.
Well, I think they make money in other ways too, but
but TikTok is usually they can do it without being on OnlyFans.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's another way too.
The sad thing is that Chinese, the company, the app, the algorithms they use in the States is completely opposite of what they use anywhere else. Like literally, they put all the degenerate stuff first.
Yeah.
Like the stupid challenges, twerking. This stuff, all this crazy stuff, like gore. Anything that objectifies women and people, it comes first.
Right. That's a problem there, as well. Like for example, I don't understand why the hesitation is in the UK and the US when China has banned Facebook. It's banned
because
all
they
kinds
make
of
money.
different.
It's capitalism.
Right. So if they banned your companies, why do you have so much problem banning their company?
Because people on the app make money.
Yeah, they do. But they can make money from Instagram too.
Like this. The way
they can make YouTube Shorts.
The way TikTok works is you can throw gifts and all the stuff. People make like tens of thousands of dollars a month. Like there are people who get gifted like maybe 10 grand in a live. Because they have to throw these, you have to buy these coins and do it.
Yeah.
So it's easier to make money on here. And so the reason why, it's basically boiling down to capitalism. If they cut this out, these people that have to report money to taxes are no longer paying taxes because there's no source of income. It's much less than they would be. Because these same people making money on TikTok, they already have a YouTube stream going and a Twitch stream and a Facebook stream. They're streaming to multiple devices. Yeah. This is another... But they're turning to TikTok because it's so much easier to rack up this money they're making.
It would really curb the problem with your child, but at least the way Tencent has risen was basically stealing everyone's ideas.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't do any R&D. They would just look at the companies that are having the most success, and they would just copy their app, and they make it, all Chinese, and make their own version of it.
Alhamdulillah, they determined that my content didn't violate our community guidelines. Access has been restored.
It's a Ramadan miracle.
It happens to me every time I submit an appeal. They always ban me for things. I don't know. Anyways, alhamdulillah, but we're not going to go live again. I think we're done there. But anyways,
yeah.
Is there something, a last thing that we want to wrap up? Is there anything else we have to talk about before we get out of here?
I just thought that it would be funny if the Americans just stole the TikTok idea and just made their own
Call it flip-flop?
Flip-flop. Flick-flack or something like that.
Call it flip-flop.
And it would just be funny if because it would kind of be like giving the Chinese a piece of their own medicine. Because
and it's not hard to develop. I mean, it's just you can whip the app. Just
they've already, like Instagram and YouTube have made their own versions of those reels.
I mean, TikTok did not have this groundbreaking technology they came out with. It's just they just use
they just used the Vine original the Vine technology, or the idea was what Vine was
just quick clips
originally, and they just made it longer. And Vine
and they allowed lives. That's what they did.
Yeah,
the live is where the money is being made.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's our show for this evening. We're running off to Tarawih. We hope you have a very successful fast and overall Ramadan. We hope that your hunger pangs are very limited, and that you don't complain as much as I do when I'm fasting. I'm working on it. It's hard. Make dua for me.
You're not that bad.
Bro, I'm already like how the animals.
Yeah, but that's internal to you, though.
I'm already storing up for as if we're going into winter, So I've been eating a lot this past couple.
But
days.
You're not really vocal about your pain. You just kind of internalize it.
Yeah, I do. I tend to internalize it, but it manifests itself eventually. I crack, and I'm like, oh, I don't want.
I do notice that pre-iftar you're pretty serious.
I'm very
tense. I noticed that. Yeah.
I'm usually just like focused on that samosa on my plate, just like.
And the ruabs.
Just looking at it.
Yeah.
And people who always talk about fried food, don't eat fried. Shut your mouth. I'm going to eat fried food, okay?
Yeah, just don't eat a lot of it. Just don't eat a lot of it.
Control, limited portions, okay, buddy?
You know what I would say to you guys?
Let's be within reason here.
One thing that helps me before iftar time is, honestly, I know it sounds crazy, but working out before iftar.
Yeah.
It is a game changer.
I used to swim.
You won't even feel like you're hungry.
Mort would accuse me of drinking water while swimming, which is disgusting.
Like while he's taking his front stroke, breast stroke, side stroke.
Yum, yum, yum.
Chlorine water. Hey, people
chlorine.
in Egypt, like the water's like 60% chlorine there, bro. So
the other 40% is urine probably over there.
Oh, man.
All right, folks. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum. I don't know when we're going to do another episode. I can't tell you. It all depends on how grumpy we are.
Rashad says, I'll give you $5 and if you wear the Magneto helmet to Tarawih.
Unfortunately, the Magneto helmet doesn't fit on my head, actually. So it just stands there.
Yeah.
I have tried to fit it in. It's just too small. I tried to get that, the person who made it on, what's it called?
What's
that? Etsy.
Yeah.
On Etsy to make it bigger, but they said no, we've already made this. If you want to customize them, you have to make a whole new one, and it'll cost you
a new mold.
Yeah, it was expensive, dude.
$200.
Yeah, more, I think.
Wow.
I'll talk to you guys later. We'll see you later. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Oh. No, wrong one. Get him to the masjid. You know that movie? Get him to the Greek. Get him to the masjid.